Hey guys, it's Octavian, just tacking this short little intro onto the front of the video because I wanted to ask you all, if you do enjoy the video, I would ask you to pay close attention to the shoutcast as we go through. Any play that particularly catches your eye, any moment that you really enjoyed, leave a comment below the video. Tell me when it happened, perhaps tell me what it was, why you liked it, anything like that. I am looking to create a new video series soon, and I need your help to do so. So, thank you very much in advance, and I'll see you at the end of the video. Hello there, folks. It's Octavian here, back again with another shoutcast for you all. This one gonna be Challenger Cast, I believe episode 15. Numbers are hard. I can point to many different times in which I've forgotten which number I was on in the series because I have far too many series running at any given time, but I enjoy casting. Hopefully you guys enjoy listening. And these two enjoy taunting. Innox and Pause next to one another. Innox doing some very fancy moves there. That must require a lot of upper body strength, though. Garen, just walking around in that armor in the first place probably requires tons of upper body strength. Those shoulder pads. He has magical shoulders right there. He is a practitioner of pauldromancy, the magic of shoulders. But I digress. That was a joke that probably about one person got. Deathwalker sitting in the tri-brush, and looks like both sides just lining up along the river. Nothing too out of the ordinary here as we run through the first minute or two of the clock. Minions spawning just about now. And I would like to get into some of the lane matchups while I have the time. Down on the bottom side of the map, in the bottom lane, my favorite lane. I am a little bit partial to that lane, I have to say. I know as a shoutcaster I'm supposed to be impartial and give everybody equal love, but I do like bot lane quite a bit. And this time is going to be a Twitch versus a Vayne and a Janna versus a Nami. And in that matchup, I would expect the Twitch and Nami to pretty much dominate the early game. Janna, a masterful support for playing out the early game. Maybe not the absolute top of the class there, but still not a slouch. And I really can't say that Nami is either, but Vayne is going to be the weak link in the early laning phase in this lane. Deathwalker, through no fault of his own, is playing on a champion that does not boast the best laning phase, and it's going to be a little bit difficult for him to weather through the storm that is going to be Twitch and Janna. Storm, Janna. Jokes. RF Legendary and Innox up in the top lane. This is another interesting lane right here. It's Garen versus Hecarim, and that is not a lane I thought I would be casting anytime soon. Hecarim lane has become more and more popular throughout this season, and actually that's the early level 2 from blue side bot lane. Deathwalker choosing to go with the Silver Bolts level up second. Doesn't quite get the third proc that he was hoping for. If he had managed to pick that up, the Silver Bolts would have paid off dearly. But up in top lane, Innox and RF Legendary going at the mono-e-mono. Gets traded in favor of Legendary, actually. Hecarim, something of a lane bully. I mean, as I said, we've been seeing him more and more. Woo! That was a Azir invading in onto the Raptors that we got to see for about a second there. Defdu getting harassed down. Does take the third proc of the Silver Bolts. The Exhaust and the Ignite are both on him. He's forced to flash away, but a flash follow from Deathwalker brings him in range of the tower, in range of the Ignite as well, but doesn't quite go down. Forced to pop heal, flashed forward to try and finish off the kill, and actually didn't pop heal. That was the Nami ebb and flow because he does not have heal. Deathwalker bringing Exhaust. That is what we got, the Exhaust and the Ignite onto Twitch there. As Innox and RF Legendary go at it once again. Legendary doing a good job of keeping Innox from getting his Garen passive to proc, and that is one of the best things you can do in a lane against a Garen. Just try and continually land harass onto him over and over again. And while Hecarim doesn't exactly have the range to do that the best, he's been picking fights all the time. Whenever he gets the chance to, he's been taking fights. Deathwalker now in a 1v1 sort of with Alernia. Defdu trying to show up to join and help out his friendly support. Pardon me. But he was not quite in range to actually get into the fight in time, so Deathwalker's going to be able to trade pretty well. And earlier on, I harped on the fact that Vayne doesn't have the best laning phase. Deathwalker, to his credit, has been playing it very nicely. These duels going steadily in favor of red team, but not overwhelmingly in favor of them. And it's going to really, really be helpful for him that he's only down by 3 CS. I mean, a Vayne can do a lot with a 3 CS deficit if the game goes on long enough. And if Deathwalker continues with this sort of performance, we might be in for quite a show, ladies and gentlemen, as this game does move forward. Def2 coming forward for a few auto attacks onto Novel as Lernia gets harassed away. And Novel is still at full health right now. Not full mana, not anywhere near full mana, probably enough to cast a simple single Aqua Prism, as Paz does get spotted out by the ward there. Heads on back home to base, glove raised in the air, and Deathwalker now, with the knowledge that Paz just went back to base, is going to go aggressive. Def2 turns it around though, and he's stacking up that poison. Third proc of the Silver Bolts will not provide enough damage to stop Def2 from bringing down the kill onto Deathwalker, and now he's going to be able to get into ambush in time. Where's he going to run though? He chooses to go for the fight. He knows that Novel doesn't have any mana left. And just a few Nami autos is not something to be afraid of when you can stack up your poison, when you can get that huge expunge chunk. And Def2 picks up a double kill in bottom lane. I was talking about how Deathwalker was doing so well to hold even in this lane, but that has all fallen through his hands at this point. Def2 picking up the double kill, getting a CS lead to boot. While we swap back up to top lane, where RF Legendary and Innox are at it again. Innox doing his best to trade here, but RF Legendary is going to pop the Ghost, get a little bit of a damage boost off of that, as well as be able to chase towards onto Innox and pick up the third kill of the game for his team up in top lane. While Paz gets engaged upon in the jungle by Big Crit. He doesn't have level 6 though, so he's really not that much of a damage threat, just going to be a little bit annoying. And that's kind of Nunu's job throughout the early game. Be annoying as possible all over the map all the time. High mobility, good ability to steal away enemy jungle camps, and a lot of harass if he's in the right situation. Big Crit, gonna be really, well, annoying to deal with for Paz's jungle vibe. Innox back up to lane in the top side, and I haven't really given much talk to this top lane here. Been focusing a lot on the bottom lane as the camera actually swaps back down there once again, but it's going to be interesting to see exactly where the builds go. RF Legendary choosing to go with the early home guard does get back to lane very swiftly, and he's actually taking somewhat of an unfavorable fight here. Innox has got him down below half hit points, and just that raw armor isn't helping him too much because Ninja Tabi are valuable against auto attacks, but Garen doesn't really auto attack much during a fight. He likes to just spin next to you, and the spin procs are not going to be affected by the Ninja Tabi damage reduction. They will be affected, of course, by the armor, but the actual passive on the Ninja Tabi, which reduces 10% of damage from auto attacks, doesn't really matter too much to Garen. It will actually reduce 10% of the damage from his Q, because that is technically an empowered auto attack, but so long as he's not choosing to max the Q first, which actually I have seen a Garen do every once in a while, and he's instead choosing to go with the more wave clear option of maxing the spin first, he's going to be able to deal with that early Ninja Tabi pickup. But I digress. We swap back down to the bottom lane, where the CS difference has become much more pronounced. Innox actually trading with RF Legendary here, going down fairly low. Legendary doing a very good job of dealing with this Garen. As I mentioned earlier, he keeps on picking fights whenever Innox comes up to the wave, and that is his way of dealing with the insane amounts of regen that Garen can put out in a lane. Innox isn't too shy of these fights, not all the time, especially not when he has a jungler sitting in the bush. Big Crit hanging about near the top side of the map. Def2 dodges away from the bubble as Deathwalker turns around for a little bit of harass, but he comes out on the short end of the stick there, nearly going down. Def2 has the level 6 before Deathwalker is able to get to that point, and they might actually go for the dive. They have Paz around for backup as well. Who's going to be tanking the turret? Nobody has taken any aggro yet. Finally, Paz picks up the aggro, but he has the Ignite burning on him. He's going to trade 1-for-1. Novel picking that up with the exhaust. He has a red buff now to his name, and Alernia might be in a lot of trouble. No, the Monsoon will save his life, but for how long? Big Crit and Drunk Hippo are both here. Drunk Hippo will pick up the kill. Emperor's Divide going to be knocking both Debox, who has also roamed from the mid lane, back along with Def2. Debox is going to be rewarded for his roam with a kill onto Azir as Nunu finishes off the rat. And I don't think he's going to be going for this dive here. No, he's certainly not going to be. But he's being Nunu. He's getting a little bit of annoyance onto Debox before he heads on home back to base. Overall, I would have to say, Red Team came out just about ahead on that one. Well, it's really difficult to tell. There were so many people dying, so many people using huge summoners all over the place. Big crit with the smite, the poacher's knife as well. Item we don't see too often picked up by junglers, but he does have the poacher's knife. Nunu, one of the better champions to grab that on if you do intend on getting it. Allows him to speed his way out of the jungle there. The poacher's knife, by the way, the upgrade for the jungler's machete, which allows him to get a speed buff on smiting an enemy jungle camp. Not just any jungle camp, has to be an enemy jungle camp, so it is specifically focused towards counter jungling. But then again, if there's any champions specifically focused towards counter jungling, I would have to say that it is Nunu, that Consume. Very, very useful tool for making those steals happen. Def Dude going in invisible onto the enemy team as RF Legendary ports into the bottom side of the map. However, there is a teleport coming from blue team as well. Innox wants a piece of the action here. RF Legendary stunned up against the wall as Innox, with the first Garen ult of the game, brings down a giant sword from the sky and kills off John. So that's actually kind of a big deal for these top laners because Garen was having some trouble in the lane. That's going to help him get back into it there as Debox trades a bit with the Drunk Hippo. Drunk Hippo coming out ahead in that one. His soldiers, commanding his every whim, are going to actually take the kill into Debox. Debox not really expecting all of that damage all at once. Still had flash up, but didn't actually use it in the end because Drunk Hippo just took him down much more quickly than even I was expecting. I was not ready for that kill. As Bubble lands onto both Def Dude and Alernia, very nicely placed. Not really going to actually lead into much, but always good to note when a bubble's nicely placed. When a skill shot is well shot. Credit where credit is due, even when it doesn't really transfer into all that much. But Hecarim pushing up the top lane, RF Legendary now. Probably going to be able to take this turret down. No teleport up from Innox to stop him, but there is a Nunu jungle nearby, and he might want to go deal with that, actually. Big Crit can just speed away, though. RF Legendary would have been able to 1v1 him, but Big Crit was not going to stick around for that 1v1. And catching up to a Nunu, even as Hecarim, can be a difficult proposition with the repeated slows and speed buffs that he can put out. Debox landing some harass on the Big Crit as we move into a bit of an impromptu ARAM, while Innox and RF Legendary continue to spam it out up in the top lane against one another. Innox has completed his Sunfire Cape, and so that looks to be the straw that broke the Hecarim's back. He's actually not able to continue to take these duels as he used to be able to do, but with pause around, he might be able to. No, they're not going to dive. Garen, very, very difficult to tower dive. He can be quite a contender while underneath the tower. But, well, we have some relative quiet on the map here. As I say that, Azir sending a soldier forth to do some good damage to Def Dude, and actually Def Dude turning back around underneath the Azir turret, though. I don't know if this was the best idea. Shockwave does land, and Def Dude gets out of range of the Azir passive. It looks like it was indeed a good idea. And while that turret will continue to stand, Azir no longer will. Very, very well-timed Orianna ult coming out from Debox, showing us he can play more than just the Viger. Though, of course, he is quite good at the Viger. Exactly what he is renowned for. But during that particular fight, we did see the first dragon of the game go down in favor of blue team as Innox and RF Legendary once again go at each other. One of them spinning a sword, the other one spinning a giant glaive. That is what that weapon is called, the correct term for it. It looks just like an axe, but it's on a stick. It's an axe on a stick, and for some reason it gets a fancy name. It's called a glaive. Today, you might have learned, I don't know, maybe you knew that already. RF Legendary running away, actually, from Innox. And that lane has somewhat swapped in terms of its momentum as Pause is getting ganked down the bottom side of the map. Here comes Deathwalker off from the side. Pause going to turn around and go right on in with the Assault and Battery, but there's nobody to help him out after he does so. So he's just going to be easy food for Vayne. And that is exactly what a Vayne wants, to get, well, fed. Just easy food. The enemy team being caught out of position there, stunned up against the wall by a very nicely placed Condemn, and had no real options left but to go in and hope that her team could maybe make some sort of use out of the Vi ults. But in the end, turns out the cooldown was just kind of wasted. Though I really don't blame Pause for that. He did have teammates nearby. He didn't have full knowledge of the entire circumstance, so there was a chance going in that he was going to be able to get a kill out of it or something like that. And trading 1 for 1, always better than simply going down without a fight. And so I am a fan of the aggression, even though it didn't actually pay off in the end. Pause. Speaking of aggression, Azir's coming up pretty close to him while he tries to clear out some of his jungle. We saw this earlier on, and we're seeing it again now. Drunk Hippo playing a very, very aggressive Azir, and that is the one lane that I haven't actually touched on so far during this cast. And one of the reasons is because it's a little bit more of a standard lane in terms of champions. I mean, Azir is somewhat of a newer champion, one of the newest to the league, but he's one of the more played champions in the recent patches, so he just seems standard to me at this point because I see so many Azirs get played. And Orianna, of course, one of the steadfast fallbacks of the mid lane. She is reliable. She can do so many different things. Elernia getting caught out here in the bush, gets knocked up against the wall. A little bit of an odd animation glitch there. She actually managed to escape out of the Azir ult, and so is going to be able to get away here as Deftu comes from the other side. Elernia on that slippery Janna, going to be able to escape with her life. His life. Elernia, I don't know who that player is, I have to say. I have not seen that player too many times before, so I cannot be certain as to gender. So I apologize if I made a mistake. RF Legendary again at the 1v1 with Innox. Innox just going to turn on the minions instead. Easier gold than the very dangerous and difficult to catch Horsey. Dabox getting knocked up, going for a surf, however does flash out of the absolute zero as Elernia takes a third proc, flashes away himself, but goes down in the end. I'm Novel finalizing that kill, but it turns into a double, and then it turns into a triple? No, just a double for Dabox. I could have sworn I saw 3 death messages, including an Orianna there, but I suppose one of them was just Dabox dying, because he also died in the end. RF Legendary coming in with the home guards blazing, big crit. Gonna be dove under the tower from the onslaught of shadows. RF Legendary trying to catch up to him though, but Big Crit continues to have the spammable ice blasts to slow him down, and he's just gonna taunt. But I don't know if that was really the best decision. Def2 is off to the side, he comes out of ambush and he takes down the kill with a swift 1-2 punch. Def2 nearly going down to the ult from Garen, but he flashes away at the last second. RF Legendary now the one in trouble. He is silenced, he cannot start up his E. Finally, the silence does end, and he's trying to kite around. Actually, they're going to turn around, maybe try and start a fight here with Innox again. This shield from Elernia will keep Def2 alive just long enough to take down the Garen, but he goes down as Deathwalker shows up for a piece of the action, and Drunk Hippo is going to take out Elernia. No escape for Janna this time. RF Legendary does get back on home to base safely, though, one of the few members of either team in that fight that can claim to do that, as Drunk Hippo maybe continues to push up the bot lane here, looking to try and set up some sort of ambush. The Orianna senses were tingling, though. Dabox pops an adorable little Poro-shaped ball into the bush, and it chunks away a good third of Drunk Hippo's health, so adorable things can still be quite dangerous. Keep that in mind, especially when playing against an Annie or a Snow Day Orianna. Deathwalker and I'm Novel push up the mid lane, get some good damage onto that, but Def2 is coming from the side, and they have a Vida ult with no way that Vayne will get out of that one. Def2 going very, very low, though. Azir doing good damage with the Orianna shield. The ult from Elernia. There is so much protection for this Twitch. Nobody can bring him down, and Drunk Hippo and Big Crit are forced to back away. Drunk Hippo just about summoning a soldier does finally land the last spear that took out the rat. And in the end, it'll be a 1-for-1 trade for both teams. Both AD carries going down. Innox and RF Legendary might have another fight here, though it's probably not really going to amount to much, since at this point, I don't know that either of them can really take the other one down. Innox actually tanking up the tower for the last few hits that is required, and now maybe he can take out the Horsey, though RF Legendary just kind of walks away from the fight, and Innox returns to farming. The top lane, I'm going to say that at this point it has stabilized. I think that is a good word to describe exactly what this lane is doing right now. Neither side able to really take any advantages up here, though it looks like blue team is actually investing pretty heavily into taking advantages up here as Nunu speeds on in, that poacher's knife giving him a buff again. And Def2 is going very, very aggressive here. Landing the slow into I'm Novel does dodge away from the bubble, but Innox, there is no dodging away from a Garen who just walks at you. There is a lot of heal, a lot of shields, just perfectly timed from the box to keep him alive. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, Vayne is taking the dragon, so overall blue team came out ahead here because they didn't actually give up any kills. They've only put pressure down up on this side. If Paz can get this fight, that is a big if with Emperor's Divide throwing him away, but if he could have gotten that fight, they might have been able to make it worth it, the loss of that dragon, but they can't, and they might actually lose Paz here. There is so much damage coming out of Drunk Hippo right now. And he's doing it all while drunk and also a giant hippo. How does he do it? How does he even use a keyboard? That's just crazy, man. You'd think it would get all wet in the river and it would break under those huge, I don't even know what they are. Do hippos have paws? Is that what that is? The important questions with Octavian here. Deathwalker going very, very low. The crit from RF Legendary will take away what remained of his health bar as Innox in a 1v3 just refuses to lose hit points. He's finally going pretty low. He has just one more auto left and RF Legendary is the one to supply it. He will take that kill. And I don't know if I'm Novel is going to be able to escape here. Does have the speed buffs from that Nami passive, but good lord! The Triforce crit chunks from RF Legendary. He has completed that most important item for lane Hecarim, and he is dishing out the damage. Drunk Hippo, trying to maybe salvage something from this team fight, is just going to end up giving up the ace over to Red Team, who finally take a decisive advantage in a fight. But I can't really say that they've taken a decisive advantage in this game overall. At 21.5 minutes, we are still so very even in this match. 15 to 17 kills, even number on turrets there, 3 for each team. And just 100 gold separating their total values. This is a very exciting match. And I am very glad to be casting it for you guys. Hopefully you all are enjoying. Stick around. Stick around. We'll get more action soon. Right now, it's only Deathwalker farming some minions, but I am sure there will be more team fights to end this game because we have some really good team fighting teams. That's something I haven't really hit on yet. Debox, of course, with Orianna, reliable in team fights if you can land that ult. It's all about the R key with Orianna as the game moves forward. And Orianna this game has a few options to use that R key with. RF Legendary, of course, playing Hecarim will be diving into the back lines, though there is honestly a little bit of anti-synergy there because Hecarim sends everybody scattering with his ulti, and Orianna wants them all in one place. But here comes Def2 from the side. That is another option for the Orianna ball right there. Submarine Twitch, but beautiful flash! Amazing flash from Deathwalker, gets himself out of the Orianna ult just as it goes off, and he dodges around during the team fight. He gets 2 kills. A kill goes over to Big Crit as well, while RF Legendary comes charging in from the side. That damage! The Triforce proc now supplied with a Brutalizer as well. RF Legendary is doing tons of work, but I don't know if he has enough to save Paz right now. It looks like he does not. Big Crit will finish off that kill while he goes back to farming some wards in his jungle. Big Crit can counter it out by farming wards as well and replacing the ward that was taken. It is ward battles, ladies and gents. Oh, Big Crit finds RF Legendary and goes at him with the Ice Blast, but I don't know if he really wants this fight, actually. RF Legendary has a red buff and he's damaged Hecarim to tank Nunu in a 1v1. This lane damage Hecarim is going to dominate as that moniker befits. Innox going very, very low here. The Blade of the Rune King will proc Blue Trinket. Going to be spotting him out, but he flashed away. And that'll get him the distance he needs to survive his untimely encounter with Def2, but that is a flash burned. For essentially, I think the most important thing burnt by Def2 there was the Blade of the Rune King active, which is fairly valuable, but not as valuable as the flash for Garen. Really his only powerful engage tool. His Q is certainly an engage tool, but I would not argue that it is powerful enough to get onto an enemy team that has a Janna and an Orianna to protect their AD carry, as Drunk Hippo gets ambushed here again by Def2. He is playing an incredibly aggressive Twitch, and he has the backup to be able to survive through this. Innox goes down into Alemia, but here's Deathwalker from the side. The burst from Oriana takes him out of the fight immediately. Big Crit flashing in to try and salvage something for his team, but he's all alone at this point. Both of his carries have died, and he's just a lonely tank Nunu with nobody to provide the damage that he needs. So I really don't think that he's going to be able to defend this turret. It's actually something of a lost cause. There's RF Legendary coming into the back lines. Or back line, I suppose. Not even a line, it's just a single dot. Just a single Nunu comprising a single dot on the graph of death, which was that secondary turret. RF Legendary coming in and erasing that dot, picking up some gold for himself. Going very heavy into the damage build for this Hecarim. He's got a Triforce with a Yumu's Ghostblade on top of it. I mean, he does have a bit of armor in the form of, well, the cloth armor that he just picked up, as well as Ninja Tabby, but that's not going to be helping him at all against Drunk Hippo's Azir damage, and that is something that he actually really needs to look out for. Drunk Hippo, with the score of the devil right now, 6-6-6, has been doing quite well this game, and he's outputting a lot of damage, as we see right now, onto pause, getting bursted down very quickly. Deathwalker gonna actually finalize that one, and they're gonna go ahead and turn onto the Baron next. They do have Vayne for the true damage chunks. They've got Azir to output that high consistent magic damage as well, and red team doesn't have a jungler, so this one's not going to be stolen away. Big crits Nunu, very good at securing that particular kind of objective. And while there's not going to be any sort of explosive fight right after, which I thought might happen because Defdu was going invisibly behind the enemy lines, trying to maybe get some sort of pincer maneuver going on, he wasn't really able to actually get into a good position, though. That wouldn't have just ended up with him being bursted down instantaneously as soon as he showed himself. It's going to be blue team going over for a dragon as RF Legendary and Debox actually look to go make some kind of push happen in the mid lane. Emperor's Divide forced out from Drunk Hippo. Got caught out a little bit, but Deathwalker's now engaging for his team. A few crits and some silver bolts later, and there's no longer going to be a Debox in the mid lane. As Big Crit tries to continue to engage for his team. Janna very good at throwing out those tornadoes and stopping Nunu from chasing, but he is determined. He is a determined Yeti. He is coming in onto 3 people right now, throwing snowballs, getting pinged back by his team. Perhaps he should pay some heed to those yellow flashing symbols on his minimap, and he does indeed turn around. While Innox, Drunk Hippo, and Big Crit all continue to push up the mid lane, and that is something which actually I just now realized as we see Blood Boil get dropped into Drunk Hippo. Very nice! Zonia is going to keep him from getting a completed Vialt in his face, which would have surely spelled his doom. And as I was saying, oh, actually, I might have to get back to it in just a second. Def2 off to the side with the ambush running. Comes out from invisibility right next to Innox. But there's an enemy turret there because they have Azir. Def2 is the one tanking it up. He's going very low very quickly, but he does manage to take down the Garen in the end. However, Big Crit, Deathwalker, and I'm Novel. We're all split pushing up on the top side of the map. And with that extra attack speed provided by a Nunu, Vayne can melt through turrets. And that segues nicely into what I was trying to get into before. The extra attack speed from Nunu, very valuable with Drunk Hippo's Azir. One of the few mid laners who can really make good advantage, take really good advantage rather, of the Blood Boil from Nunu. And it allows Big Crit 2 separate targets to use that on. And if he builds into full cooldown reduction, which it really looks like he's going to try and do, he's got that Juggernaut enchantment, which of course gives a small amount of cooldown reduction, as well as a Frozen Heart, and perhaps some Masteries or Runes allowing him to go in that direction. He could potentially, I believe, have full CDR, even at this point right now. That's going to mean that he'll have Blood Boil up pretty much constantly, though. There's even a small little window there where he could have it overlapped onto both Azir and Vayne, which would be terrifying sometime in the middle of a team fight. RF Legendary coming out from the side, knocks Big Crit up against a wall as I'm Novel doesn't actually land the bubble onto anybody. He has to turn around with the ulti just to try and keep himself alive as Big Crit is looking to re-engage this fight since Deathwalker is coming from the side. He's got Final Hour running and he is going to tumble forward to finish off Janna and try and continue in onto RF Legendary here, tumbling around, avoiding as best he can, but it looks like it's not enough. That is going to be a shutdown going over to Twitch as Azir manages to finish off Hecarim. And overall, is a 2-for-1 trade, with Hecarim and Janna falling on the side of red, while Vayne falls on the side of blue. Blue is going to take more advantage of that team fight, though. They got the advantage in first place in terms of kills, and then they're going to pull ahead, get even more advantage in terms of grabbing a turret as Defdu comes in submarine style for a very, very dangerous engage. I don't know if he really wants to do this. Innox brought him down to half health already, does have the Garen ulti up, but doesn't get a chance to use it before Defdu flashes away, and he takes way more damage than he anticipated. He's actually still taking, and Defdu is on a killing spree. Drunk Hippo forced to flash as well. The heal going to keep him alive a little bit longer, and he is going to be able to escape, at least so far. Pause continues on with the chase as Defdu with a red buff is invisible, and RF Legendary with the home guards and a Yumus is rushing in as well. Big Crit is going to be the one to go down. Auto attack from Debox. Going to do the last little bit that was needed there, and Drunk Hippo turns around with the burst. The burst from his ulti is enough to take down Pause's low health Vi. Can he survive this chase though? RF Legendary has the damage, has the crit, and it looks like he can't survive it. Ooh, however, Deathwalker might be able to take some revenge. Finishes off Alemia, but I'm Novel, not able to keep him alive through the damage from Hecarim, and RF Legendary is just going insane. Oh my god! Does Novel survive? RF Legendary going to keep on chasing after him. He flashes away, but there's the onslaught of shadows, and the very edge of the ghostly horses will catch on to their target. Nami will go down, and it's going to be sushi for dinner tonight. Innox, not wanting to give chase through the jungle, will allow the horsey to escape. Whew. Lots of action, folks. Lots and lots of action, and maybe potentially a little bit more. But overall, despite the fact that we did just see RF Legendary do quite well, get a few kills for himself, I would have to say that Red Team has gotten the shorter end of the stick so far. And they are the ones who need to pull themselves back into this game. Blue Team, not a huge lead, but they do at least have a lead. They need to focus more on just finding ways to capitalize on that small advantage that they have, snowball it, and roll it into more and more of an advantage as we move forward, whereas Red Team gonna have to look for some mistakes to be made on the other side. They're gonna have to look for opportunities to leap into the back line. They have a team fight comp very focused on doing that. The Poacher's Knife gonna keep Big Crit safe, and then one of the few downsides of the Poacher's Knife, especially in somebody like Nunu, is that it lets the enemy team know that you are going very, very heavy into that counter jungling strategy. Because, of course, the enemy team can always hit tab, look at your inventory, see what exactly you have, and if they see, oh, this is a Nunu with Poacher's Knife, a little bit easy to read exactly what that person might be trying to do. But in the end, I would have to say that the advantages of having that item outweigh the disadvantage of kind of broadcasting your strategy a bit to the enemy team. Big Crit, hanging around near this dragon, had a lot of friends to help him out. Actually, all of his friends. Everyone is here. And Dragon was not invited to the party. They're going to make sure that he gets out of there very, very quickly. The Consume and the Smite secure from Nunu will keep that dragon very, very securely in the hands of Blue. But they might be losing their mid lane for it. Lots of pings going out onto the mid lane turret. Yeah, it looks like 5 members from Red Team are going to push down here. Vayne is off by herself at the bottom side of the map, though. Split pushing all alone. The rest of Blue Team, though, is down here in the mid lane, and they are looking for some kind of engage, but they don't have their AD carry to help. Finally, Vayne is going back to base, but is it too late? The tidal wave comes by on the side, but only hits one person. Shockwave entirely whiffs. Here comes RF Legendary, just trying to leap in on a Drunk Hippo, but he was in the Zonias. It didn't affect anyone. Hecarim ult and Orianna ult were both entirely wasted, and that is going to be a triple kill for Azir as RF Legendary, nowhere left to run, goes down for the ace. Innox teleports into the enemy base, and this is certainly going to be the end of the game. GG. Well played by both sides. What a way to end the match. As Garen is hammering in onto that second Nexus turret. It is below half hit points. The rest of his team is on their way. Big Crit doesn't care at all about turrets. He'll just wander right on through there. And yeah, this is going to be GG. Ladies and gentlemen, the Nexus is under fire. Nobody from Red Team is alive. Just 2 seconds on some of them, but 2 seconds too late. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Octavian. This has been another episode of Challenger Casts. I will see you next time.